Hey,
All right,
everybody.
we are live.
We're live. Let's go. How's everyone doing? Dan is in the chat. What's up, Dan? Alvaro. I read it like that because Dan likes to say my name to that tune. Oh,
Cool. So yeah, welcome everyone. I think people are still trickling in. There was a bit of a hiccup on our end in terms of where to point people. But yeah, what are we going to be going over today, Al?
so super impromptu. I have like a couple slides, so you'll see like it's not like super duper impromptu, but we are going to set up a front end from scratch. And basically, last week, if you joined the workshop, we set up a front end using one of the AU projects. So now we're gonna like take a couple steps back, and you guys are gonna see me struggle through setting up a front end from scratch. I didn't practice this beforehand. I didn't set it up. I just set up a couple slides that'll help us understand what we'll be using to build with. But that's about it. I don't even know what I'm going to build today. If any of you guys have any ideas, like anyone in the comments, any cool ideas for like a cool front end we could build within the hour, I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, I'll just kind of riff and show you guys some cool front end building tools that maybe you guys can bootstrap for your final projects. So can someone work on the echo? There's an echo? Oh, no.
It might have been from my mic. I'm not sure if it's.
So Dan doesn't. It might just be Mikel or Michelle, or let's just go .united. My voice? Oh yeah. So Dan is calling it out. You might have it open on two tabs. It's happened to me before. So if you're looking at YouTube, you might have like been waiting for the YouTube link and then clicked another one. You might have it open on two tabs. That has happened to me before. But yeah, let us know if it continues to do that. But otherwise, GM Arturo. What's up, Arturo Mena? Let's see. Just saying GM. What's up, Dap? What's up, Galleon? What is up, Andre? Boogra. Hello. Cool. So let's get underway. And I'll start sharing my screen here. I put together like super simple slides that cover basically what we covered last time. But let's see.
Also, something to cover here. I know you're going over front end. Maybe we want to also just give people the opportunity. I know people are probably working on their final projects. So this is a good time. So next week is when final projects will be due for those that want to. So that's February 9th. For those students that want to be included in the final project presentation on the 14th. Again, this doesn't mean that you can't get certified. You can keep working on your projects. It's just for if you want to be a part of that final project presentation and have access to like some prizes that we're giving out and as well as like, you know, some hype from the AU community. So next week is when those projects are due. Project submissions will be live on the site probably within the next few days. And so you'll see that within your AU dashboard. And so I would take that opportunity here to, you know, if you have any questions on the final project, make sure you ask, you know, Al or myself, and we can help out with that. Cool.
Cool. Thanks, Cody. I'll actually take a quick minute here and realize since I'm going to probably be opening up VS Code, closing all my windows so that it's just a little cleaner when we're in here. Should have done that beforehand for sure. But you guys are seeing this is super impromptu. I told you guys. Okay. So it's a clean window, and I have Discord open, and I made the announcement to Discord. If you guys want to see me stumble through building a front end, join us in our weekly live stream. So I've actually, this is kind of on purpose a little bit. I was talking to some folks on Twitter a couple months back, and I just, you know, put a tweet like, hey, would anyone be interested in watching me build some React front ends? And a lot of people were interested. And a lot of people said, please build, but like without planning, so that we can see the errors that you get, because you guys will probably get those errors as well. So if anyone has any ideas for like a cool front end to build, If not, I'll just like go generic and show you guys some cool kind of good practices using Chakra UI. Chakra is the best. So cool. Let's get underway. What's up, Space Falcon? So, all right. Let me share my screen here. Also, make sure to, if you guys have any questions, comments, anytime, let me know. Let's go. Okay. Entire screen. Boom. It's the streaming inception. I'm always stuck here. So cool. I set up like this. This is 4 or 5 slides, but I'll refine it, and hopefully we do this like on a weekly basis, and we kind of just get better altogether. So, Alchemy University, cool graphics, cool logo. The agenda for today. We're going to set up a front end, and we're not even doing it Web3 specific or Alchemy specific, not just yet. If we have time at the end, we can always add like some cool Alchemy tools that will help our project kind of stand out more. But this is just like a generic, what is front end, set up a front end, and also I'll take the opportunity to, when people say front end, it used to be referred to like, when people say front end, they just mean when you're building an application, the front end facing part is like the website, right? Or the mobile app. So when you say, oh yeah, I am going to build a front end, that just means you're going to build the part of the application that actually faces the user. That's at the front. On the flip side of that, if you are a back-end developer, then you are building parts of the application that are on the backside. So front end is better described as like the shell of the car, or like the, if you're looking at a Tesla, the front end would be, the sleek kind of car design, the blueprint car design. And then the back end would be you working on the engine, stuff people don't see, but it's still necessary for like the overall application. In this case, the analogy is a car to function. All right, so let's do it. We're going to set up a front end.
Quick question from the chat. They're wondering if they can follow along.
Yes, 100%. So 100%, please follow along. I'll try to 100% please follow along, and then let me know if you get stuck on anything. By the end of it, you'll just probably be set up with like a very simple kind of front end running server. But yeah, please follow along, and you'll see I will like pull up a terminal. I'll let you guys know all the commands, all that good stuff. So if you can, please follow along, but also keep in mind this is being recorded. So don't stress out too much, and feel free to just, chill out, have a coffee as well. Your call. Cool. So today we'll set up a front end, and also, I added this image because the front end, a lot of people say like, oh yeah, I'm a front end developer. And then you say like, oh yeah, what do you do? And they're like, oh, well, I do React. Well, no, you do React, and that React code powers some front end facing part of the application, right? The part typically users interact with. So the tech stack we will use, this is one tech stack out of a bunch, but this is the one we like to use because we believe it's like kind of like the quick start tech stack. So number one, we're going to use React. And React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. It is user interfaces you'll hear a ton in front-end development. It's the interface to the user. Again, the front-end facing part to the user. It's the part of your app that interfaces with the user. So React is used to develop single-page applications and mobile apps, and allows developers to build reusable UI components. So if someone here is taking notes, make sure, like, if I don't come back to the keyword reusable UI components, please make sure to call me out in the chat. But I'll try to come back to it because that's the important takeaway from React. Number two, Vite.js is pronounced Vite.js. It's a JavaScript build tool and runtime for building fast and lightweight web applications. It focuses on fast development and low build size. And then number three, we'll be using Chakra UI, which is a library for React that provides a set of highly customizable and accessible UI components. So let's get started. Unfortunately, I can't. Something I dislike about StreamYard is I can't paste links. but we're going to get started in this getting started Vite link. It's just vite.js, vite.js.dev/guide. Let me take a quick drink. So while you guys type in that link, this is where we'll get started.
You should be able to type them into the chat in StreamYard. Do you know how to access
you're right.
that?
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that should send to, I would just send to all destinations, just because we have, right now we're, in the future, everyone, we're going to be moving over to just the Alchemy YouTube. But for now, Alchemy University YouTube works just fine. Just a heads up.
Cool. Thanks, Cody. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. I don't know why last time I wasn't able to like chat with you guys and stuff, but you know what it is? I can't, if you guys like give me a string to copy, I can't do that. So that's what I mean. But I can chat with you guys and send you links. Okay. Good stuff. Illuminating and Algenda. I love these name puns. Okay. Keep them coming. Cool. So this is where we'll get started, vite.js.dev/guide. And as you'll see, it just gives you a quick, overview. It's a build tool that aims to provide a faster and leaner development experience for modern web projects. And it consists of, I'll let you guys go down the rabbit hole, but the last time we explained it was when you're, when you hit a website like, I don't know, let's do Gorilla Etherscan, you type it into your browser, and your browser sends a request to a server over the internet, and that server routes that request to, to a server owned by Etherscan, and they send you back the files needed for you to see here, right? That server element it exists on the web, on the internet. So what Vite does is it gives you that same kind of infrastructure a little bit, but on your local. So you're actually able to develop and build and code, and Vite will act as that kind of relayer, the server serving your files to your application. And you'll see it kind of do that in just a moment. So what we're interested in here is this npm create Vite at latest. And again, this is totally unplanned. This is just what I remember from the last time I built with Vite. So we'll see where this takes us. So let's pull up a terminal, and you can just, you can spotlight search or terminal, and you'll open it. If you're on Windows, I believe it's called like shell or something like that, but terminal should be pretty universal. I'll zoom in so that this can be seen a little bit, and then I'll cd into the desktop. Cd means change directory, and that's a terminal command. So you typically want to cd into a folder that you are, where you want to create a new project. I like to create things in my desktop. As you guys, I I was about to show you guys my desktop, but I'll spare you the monstrosity that is that desktop, because I save everything there. Anyway, I'm on desktop, and I'll make dir, which stands for make a directory or create a directory, and I'll call it, wacky front end. It's going to be wacky because there's no plan to it. We're just kind of just setting up the rails for it. Make dir wacky front end, and then we'll do change directory into that wacky front end. So I'll run clear, which just kind of cleans up your terminal screen. You'll see boom, but it doesn't delete everything. You can still see the commands. Also, a neat terminal command that I recently learned, like literally 3-4 days ago, is history. If you're like, what command did I just do? Here's just some of my Git history that I've done, recently. Anyway, clear that. And if we do ls, I forget what ls stands for. What does ls stand for? Terminal. List. Okay, that makes sense. I'll never forget that now. I don't know. I've not known that for the longest time. So ls means list. And you're telling the terminal, hey, in the current directory that we're in, list its contents. And it has nothing because we just created it. So cool. Now we'll follow this like quick start scaffolding your first Vite project. And we're just going to copy this command. Make sure you don't copy. So like use this copy tool. Sometimes I do this, and notice like if you highlight the whole thing, it'll actually get that little $sign too. If you notice the terminal, I guess it changed it to a percentage. Didn't it used to be a $sign? Someone let me know. But anyway, yeah, you don't want to copy that $sign. You just want to press this copy little button. That $sign indicates like to the users like this is supposed to go in a terminal, and just copy paste. Boom, npm create vite at latest, and it's going to say like, hey, you're going to install a couple of packages. Yes, just go yes, enter. Project name, let's do wacky AU workshop wacky, right? And then it's going to ask you to select a framework. We kind of highlighted at the beginning that we're going to use React. That's what AU uses in a bunch of the student projects as well. So we might as well buff up our skills there. So let's choose React and then JavaScript. But if you're a TypeScript user, respect, you can also choose that. And if you have a question on the difference of JavaScript and TypeScript, let me know in the comments, or maybe post it in the comments and someone else can answer it. Best way to learn something is to teach, right? So cool. Now, if you do list again, it'll show you that you've pulled down this like scaffolded project that you called AU Workshop Wacky. And then it says now run that. So let's do that. CD AU Workshop Wacky, npm install. So I covered this last time, and for the longest time, npm install is like, as you see, this is like the first step in most projects. When you're git cloning, when you're using a scaffolded project from documents like Vite.js guides, the first step is typically npm install. What the heck does that do? So let's open this up in VS Code. npm install is what you need to know without further rabbit holing into it, and you can, is npm install will say, okay, this project we pulled down has a file called package.json. Go into it, go into the dependencies part of the tree, and install these dependencies from npm, right? And npm is just, like, if you look it up, npm is like a package repository for dependencies, right? So how do we get all this stuff working where you're able to pull down my code and get the same thing on your computer, even though your computer has all these different configurations? It's because of the package.json and the fact that you can just go look at the dependencies and install these dependencies, right? So npm, as you'll see, one of the dependencies was React. React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces, as we covered. npm install is going to go into this kind of package repository and pull down all the dependencies needed in order for you to run it on your local. Cool. All right, let's go back to terminal. And I think the last step, we did npm install. Did we not do npm install? Okay, let's do npm install. I hope people can see this. npm install. Okay, we had done it because, oh, no. We hadn't done it. You'll see it added 83 packages. If we run it again, you'll see it doesn't like re-add them. It'll just say, hey, you're up to date. Everything's kind of good, right? So let's clear. And then that last step, I think here was npm run dev. And let's do that. And we'll break down what that does shortly. npm run dev, boom. Let's copy paste this into our browser, remove this. And there we go. We're up and running with a Vite.js plus React scaffolded front end, which is awesome. And it's even like dark moded, which is cool for our eyes and mine. As you see, I'm wearing some glasses that have like these blue light protector beams. And this Vite.js, like, notice how fast that was. We can literally do this again. Whoops. We can literally do this again. We can, if you Control C will exit you out of that running server. If we do this again, npm run dev, what npm run dev does is it says, all right, Vite, start up that local development server for me and start serving files to me, right? So that when I go to http 127.0.0.1:5173, which is typically like the local host kind of endpoint, when I visit that endpoint in my browser, that endpoint is going to make a call to the Vite local server And Vite's going to be like, oh yeah, I got you, because I actually have a bunch of files here. Let me serve you this app.jsx. Boom. And your browser shows you this. There you go. So if you don't believe me that this app.jsx is being served literally live right now, you see it says Vite plus React, but I can change it to Vite plus React plus Alchemy University. And you'll notice, boom. If I had the like larger screen, it's nearly instant. And that's something that's really cool about Vite. So if you've heard of other build systems, for example, create React app, which you usually kind of initialize via npx create React app, that one like is a little more sluggish. And those builds aren't as instant as fast. So these are things that we need to consider as front-end developers. Like, what is the most efficient system for me as a developer to build front-end facing applications? And Vite is one that is lightning fast, not just to make those types of changes, but also like the fact that we can start a server in less than like a second with like, boom, that was 201, what is it, milliseconds or megaseconds or megabyte seconds, whatever. It's milliseconds, but it's super quick. Anyway, we are up and running with a front end, and that's cool. So if you're thinking of building a final project, just go, and if you're thinking of building a final project and your skills reside more in the back end scripting, smart contract development side, just go to vitejs.dev/guide, follow this scaffold thing, scaffold section, and set up a front end, and you're already running. And you can see that you don't actually need to know like a huge amount of front end to like start making your own customization. So maybe your final project is like, my final project by, and I'll just do like a generic name, Ted Lasso. Right? My final project by Ted Lasso. And you'll notice the icons are above. Maybe we want that title to be at the top of the page. So this is an H1 title. We'll put this here. Here we go. So like you can start instantly playing around with some front end powers, which is really cool, in 1 second. So I'll take a breather there and check in with StreamYard. Let's see. That's like so far kind of so good, I hope. What's the difference between the next view? I believe they're all build systems. You'll have to Google it to get a better answer than from me.
So I could jump in just real quick there. Vite is more of the it's helping you set up that build pack, right? Like Al explained. It's less of something that you can. It's less of like a structuring a front end like React is, where React gives you a framework for how you set up your components, how they all interact with each other. And how that's kind of displayed within your directory and how it's organized on your front end. And that's similar to what Vue and Next.js does. The difference between Next, Vue, and React, it's really just in like the way in which you structure those components. They each have different rules. Some of them are better for certain things. Like Next.js is really good for like, it is typically really good for like SEO. Like if you have a lot of like static content, what Next.js is really good at is letting you serve a lot of those assets on the server side. And so you'll have to kind of look into what I mean there. I'm not going to fully go into that. But each of those tools, you can use any of them. Like using one over the other is not necessarily, you're not going to like fall into this trap of being like, oh, I got to redo my entire application. It's just that some have some tools that some developers like and others have other tools. And, for us and our needs, at Alchemy University, we prefer React, and we like Vite for helping our build systems. So
awesome. Thanks for the save, Cody. Yeah, for sure. Great explanation. And And yeah, again, there are tons of tech stacks that you can combine and mix. Some people like other languages. For example, TypeScript was one of the options we could have used early, but we just went with JavaScript to make things a little easier on us. But yeah, there's a bunch of combos that you can use to power your front ends. This is just one that we like to recommend because it gets you up and going. It's fast. It's easy. You saw how easy it is. It's just one command, npm install, npm run dev, and that's it. You're up and running with a front end that is instantly linked to your code. So anyway, cool. I have a couple things that I want to run through, but if anyone has any ideas as to like this is a fully let me know what you guys want to see me building, and I'll try to build it within time. But yeah, let me know if anyone has like any ideas. Like, hey man, that logo is whack. Why don't you remove it or something? Or if you have inner questions like, oh, what would it entail to, do this or that? Yep.
Do you think it would be interesting if, or maybe the chat could chime in here? I was trying to say tune and something else at the same time. Maybe it would be interesting if we could just show how someone would, quickly integrate like ethers into this and like maybe call out to like a smart contract or something. I'm not sure if you're like ready for that sort of addition to like the front end.
Yeah, I was hoping to leave something like that more towards the final part, but if that
oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah,
no,
giving out suggestions.
That's a great idea, and I asked for suggestions. Get one, shoot it down. No, no. That's a great idea. I just want to make sure this is more front end focused, and get people through the door. Maybe I wanted to cover the hook aspect a little bit, cover some chakra, and then I'll definitely like what I would do to get an ethers call, or better said, how would I start interacting this app with the blockchain? So yeah, good delineation there. The fact that we are in Web3 is such a cool thing because traditionally, I'll just give a quick tangent on backend. Like traditionally, backend is considered like, oh yeah, MongoDB, like databasing, all these things that you need to set up a server. But for a lot of Web3 developers that, or at least for me and many like me that got their start in Web3, got their software engineering start in Web3, the backend has traditionally been just the Ethereum blockchain for us. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing to cover. And I might even jump to that because that will cover some interesting stuff. I just wanted to cover real quick the fact that it gives you this like live button. You'll notice it says count is 0, and you can actually press it, and you're like, oh, cool. Like count is, a bunch of things. So okay, wow. Now I'm getting like some interesting inspiration ideas. Let's try to do this. So this count, you'll notice if we look at the code, that button it says count, right? And this variable is what's called it's set up using the useState React hook. So what useState does is it allows you to very easily keep track of the state of a variable across your application, right? So this is how you declare it. It's kind of a funky declaration. If you wanted to set up another variable, like for example, I don't know, whatever, like name, like const name, set name is the practice, use state, and then what goes into here is the default value that you want to assign this variable. This is kind of akin to doing const name equals, default value. This is the use state, the React use state version of it. The cool thing is now that you have it here at the top level, you can use it all throughout your app. A cool thing is, for example, we have state, we have the count variable, and you'll notice here it says count is, that. If we go back to Google Chrome, it reloaded for us since we made changes, 1. And then you'll notice count is 9. If we reload, it'll reset the count to 0, right? Because on reload, it's saying, hey, give me that file again. and that file is initializing that count to 0. So this is like a good rabbit hole for you to start learning, how do I get state to be persistent across loads? So that's maybe a challenge that I'll ask you guys to take offline. But anyway, that's count. And I will cover chakra. Should I cover chakra super quick? Well, okay, let's do this. What if we like superpower and spin it and like, okay, but this is going to be like a superpower part because I want to see if we can get this in before the hour. So what we'll do is we've set up a front end, right? That's all good and fine, and that's cool. And we kind of learned what front end hooks are a little bit via using useState, and that's like a React version of, you know, keeping track of what value a variable has throughout your app. One quick note is I mentioned at the beginning in the slides, I mentioned this reusable UI components. I'll mention that real quick. The cool thing about React is you're actually able to do something like, say you want to, this like header component, right? Let's clean this like main file up. The app.jsx is the file that is served, right? Like, let's clean this up in a more like comprehensive project or a bigger project. You can imagine if we put everything here, that can be like so, you know, that can be clunky, that can be like messy. So let's do not a new folder, new file, and we'll call it like the header section.jsx, and we're going to do a functional components call it and call it the same as a header as the name of the file. And let's see, and there we go. So I think we'll need to return. Here we go. So we now have this header section that we extracted from that main app.js, and let's delete it from here. Boom, it's gone. So if we check back in with our project, it's like that header section that made our app look really nice is kind of gone. We're not serving it anymore because it's not part of the app.jsx. So, no, Vizsla? What is that? I'm working off one screen, so if the spotlight is kind of you know, weird, I'll definitely work off a second screen next time so I can actually drag stuff in and out. So anyway, we created that head section. Let's actually call it a header section, not a head section. And we've created a reusable component out of it. This is so cool. This is something that React allows you to do. So what we're going to do is now in the app.jsx, we're going to import that component into import header section from, let's see, from header section. We're going to input that whole component. And the reason that didn't come up, by the way, if you guys do that, the reason that didn't come up is I forgot to add an export default. Let's see, I'll just add it here at the beginning. So export default function. What that does is like React lingo for, hey, here's a functional component, it's called header section, and we're by default, we're going to export it, which means we're going to make it available to other components within this same file system. So you'll notice, hopefully, VS Code will now be there you go, boom, import header section from /header section. And since we have it, now we can literally do header section, and our app just like, boom, it looks much cleaner. No, maybe it doesn't like it. Let's see. Okay, so cool. We ran into like a bug. It's not serving the app right, where it's not doing what we expected it to do. So one thing I will comment is in the StreamYard, Command plus Shift plus C is what my brain immediately serves up when I see this, like, no, it's not, it's being weird. So Command Shift C will pull up the developer tools, and we want to look at the console. And this is typically what will give us the hint to what is going on. Like, why are we erroring? So cool. It says uncaught reference error. React logo is not defined. Now I have an idea. Oh, also, like, it'll tell you at header section and the file and the code line, the line of code that is making that error show up. So you'll notice when we extracted that header section that header section used like a logo. And it's actually, it's using it here. Image source equals VJS, or this one is the one that was complaining. So the React logo, let's see if I can just import it. Otherwise, I'll just delete it. Import React the logo. Was it? No. I'm just going to delete it for now. So what V does is it runs like these, like, whenever you save, if you're not using a component, it'll just delete it out. So I'm just going to delete or comment out this image for now, and we should be up and running. There we go. Boom. So we just deleted one of the imports that I forgot to import into that reusable component, but that's something that's super powerful from the React side. We're able to kind of modularize all these components. So we have a header section, and now we can keep doing it, right? And it's much cleaner. It's much, much cleaner. It's one line of code instead of, what is it, like 10 line of codes that look, that just clunks up your project. And we can keep going. We can do, this second section, which is let's call it the count section, even though it doesn't really do much. Let's do, well, actually, I think that hammers home the fact that the concept that I wanted to include here, the fact that you can actually make these reusable components. So header section is maybe one that you are using across all of your apps. So the cool thing is you actually now have this as like this Lego block component, and you can import it to any file, any part of your application that you want, right? So this is super powerful, and it keeps you from, rewriting code all the time. Reusable components. You can make a component and reuse it all across your app just by importing it. Super powerful. So cool. Let's take the last 5 minutes and see if we can speed run into doing something wacky like deploying a smart contract. Okay, so we have our front end. We have our front end here. That's awesome. My final project by Ted Lasso, and it just keeps a count. But that count is like rigged to nothing. It's like a dead variable. It's just like a variable that's kept in the front end. Wouldn't it be cool if we actually like interfaced with a smart contract on Ethereum? Yes, that would be cool, because then we could actually see some cool stuff going on here. And let's hope this goes well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we have all our front end projects set up. Now let's do make dir. I'm going to do hard hat counter. I'm going to call that hard hat counter, and cd into that. I'm going to do this real quick because we're running out of time, and then I'll just do npx hard hat. If you've run through the AU content, you're probably very familiar. Hard hat is like the super awesome developer tool for building, testing, deploying smart contracts. So create a JavaScript project. Boom. Yes, I do want to add a git ignore, and I do want to install all the sample projects dependencies. While that does that, I know I'll need a alchemy.com API key, and then I'll need a private key to, no, I won't need a private key because I'm doing read only. That's great. Okay, so alchemy.com, and I'm going to use my test alchemy API key. So we talked about this last week. You never want to reveal your Alchemy API key, but I specifically created this one for testing. So I'm going to delete this app, create a new one. The only reason I'm doing this is an app for, well, actually, yeah, we can do mainnet. We can do, well, actually, no, I want to do testnet. I want to do Girly. So let's see if one of my other Girly apps. Okay, I'm going to reveal the NFT Minter app API key. Okay, cool. So we have an API key. Let's go back to the terminal. We initiated a full hard hat project. We can see this by running code, and boom, we have a hard hat counter. So what I'm going to do is I have this like sample lock.sol, which is a smart contract that the sample hard hat project gives you. I'm going to delete all the junk, turn this into an MIT license. That's complaining. That's annoying. That's like something wrong with the hard hat local. Let's see, it requires 7.3 hard hat config, hard hat local. Let's do that again. Okay, there we go. So I can run through what I just did later, but it's nothing important. It's just something related to my local. I'm going to do a counter, and I'm going to do a smart contract that keeps track of a count, and then delete everything, and it's just going to have one function, increase count, public, and it's going to do count plus plus. So this contract's super minimal. All you can do, all its like purpose in life is to keep track of a count state variable, and then do a function, and it has a function that allows you to increase the count. That's it. That's about it. Anything else I should do? That's cool. No. Okay. And let's deploy this. So I would do deploy. Again, all of this like kind of garbage that hard hat includes, we don't need. What I do is I delete anything here that is not related to our uses, and then I change all of these variables. Let me change this lock.sol into a counter.sol. And the uppercase lock I'll replace with counters, counter, counter, counter. And then the lowercase locks I'll replace with counter. And then we don't need this deploy argument since our counter has no arguments in the constructor. Counter. And then counter. Contract deployed to counter. Okay. Oh, wait. So I do need a private key. Dang it. Anyone willing to offer a private key? Okay, so what I'll do is actually, instead of petitioning someone give me a private key, I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second, get a private key. I don't know why I don't think of these things. Get a private key. We have 10 minutes. I feel like we're doing fine for what we want to do. I fail. Hopefully we get there. Okay. So I'm going to get a private key from a account that has girly Ethereum. This is called the AU test account. Account details. Export private key. 1, 2, 3. Private key. Okay. So now I'm going to share back up since I have that. Do we still need React counter hook? Good question. We won't need it for this purpose because we're going to do like a read. So, okay. Cool. So back on, let's see, terminal, VS Code. All right, so we're in our hard hat project. What I'm going to do is create a new file called .env, and that's going to keep our variable safe. I'm just going to name this girly private key equals, and alchemy test private key equals, right? And this is a test account private key, and it's funded with very little ETH. But even then, I'm sorry guys, I'm going to start sharing again. But what I'm going to do is basically plug in the private key here, and then I can actually do this live here. Plug in the Alchemy API key that I acquired here. Let's see, Visual Studio Code. Boom. So we have that Alchemy test private key, and then we're going to need to plug in that private key. I'll go offline again real quick and plug it in. Just trying to follow good practice. Never show your private key ever to anyone ever except your own eyeballs. Okay. This is a sprint, guys. Okay. So back to streaming, present, share screen. Okay. VS Code. Dang it. I presented screen before plugging it in. Okay, there we go. So now it's plugged in. and Google Chrome, present the screen, share screen. Okay, cool. Back to VS Code. We now have everything. We have a private key loaded up. We have an Alchemy API key. Let's deploy this shiznig to the Gurley test network. So let's do hardhat.config. What it's going to ask you to do here is, or what you should do here is, besides a solidity count, you want to do a networks flag. So you want to do networks like that and do URL and here require .env.config. One thing I want to remember is to actually install .env in the hardhat config. And we installed it. Cool. We're requiring here at the top level of the hardhat config, we're doing process.env.test. What is it? Alchemy test API key. Networks. This was actually meant to be Gurley. All right. And accounts. And we can do process.env. What was it? Gurley private key. So what .env does is it pulls down your sensitive variables from .env into here and allows you to use them. And now I can use them on a live demo without actually showing you the sensitive data behind those variables. One thing we also want to make sure of is in the .gitignore. Okay, .env is in there. I won't push the .env project up to a GitHub repo if I did do a push. So that's good. It won't include this file. It'll ignore it. Okay, so back to the terminal. But let's actually do it in the VS Code terminal. And we'll do npx hardhat run scripts and then the path to the deploy script, deploy.js, and then you'll do network early. Let's see if I set it up right. Let's do it. There's one or more errors. Expected a value of type string for the URL, process.env.alchemy test API key. It is a value of type string. Let's see. There's one or more errors. Networks, Gurley, URL, counts. I think we'll have just time to deploy it, and I'll leave the challenge of reading data from the counter. I'll upload the address shortly. Let's see. Expected a value of type string. Oh, that's my bad. Okay, so let's see if I can fix this without opening the .env file. So my mistake was I just pasted the Alchemy API key in there, but I actually need the like full HTTPS string. You'll see which one I mean from the NFT minter view key. I actually need this. So I'm just gonna actually hard copy it in there. It's the same thing. There we go. So that's what it wanted. Let's see if that solves it. Okay, it compiled. That's good. It's deploying. I'm sure it's deploying. And as an extra tip, since we're probably not going to have time to actually read from this contract, so I'll show you guys how to deploy it and verify it on Etherscan. Gurley Etherscan. And boom, we have a contract. There we go. We just deployed it 24 seconds ago. It's on the Gurley blockchain. That's awesome. And now it's like this bytecode representation. That's not good, or typically not good. Let's verify it, and we'll do it manually through the Etherscan interface. I just selected verify. The compiler version that I used was 0.8.17, I believe, and the license was MIT because I changed it. And then it's going to ask us to enter the Solidity contract code below. Let's do that. That's it. Very simple contract. Okay. No constructor arguments. This did not have a constructor argument. Should be pretty quick to verify and publish it. This can take up to 30 seconds, apparently. But I think it'll be quicker. There you go. So what you basically did via the Etherscan interface is successfully prove that, hey, we had the source code. We're the ones that, wrote this contract. So now we can go back to the contract and we can actually see this counter. That's awesome. And not even that, thanks to Etherscan, like read contract and write, we can see the count is 0. So that's all good. But we can also write the contract and use the increase count function. So I won't do it now, but it'll just increase the count by 1 and make a transaction and increase it by 1, unless I made some sort of silly mistake. What I'll leave you guys with is, should I want to read from this contract, I would go to Ether's read from contract. And it says, okay, like, let's look at this. How to read public variable from contract using Ethers.js. Maybe we can do this. Let's see. And it says, Italy docs is pointing out. Okay, so I'm assuming, okay, now remember, we need to go to Ethers contract, create an instance of the contract. So what this does is, in your local, you create an instance that points to that contract. Let's see if we can do it. New ethers.contract. All we need to do really is, in Hardhat, install npmi ethers and npmi ethers and do a file called readcontract.js. I'm just going to copy, well, I don't even need to copy, async function main at, and then we can do const counter instance equals new ethers.contract. Oh, that's Hardhat being cool and importing the ethers object. I believe that's the one we want. And then as you're creating a new contract instance, it'll ask you for the address name. We just deployed it, or the address string. We just deployed it. So boom, we have that. And then the ABI, I believe, is the second argument. Contract interface. ABI. How do we get the ABI? So the ABI, not how do we get it, but we have it right here. This is all we need. I'm just gonna, for efficiency's sake, I'm actually just gonna copy paste it. It's a pretty short one. So, and bring it into this read contract. So const counter ABI, and I'll do that. And clean this up a little bit. There we go. So we have a counter ABI there. We'll pass it in here. Counter ABI. And then we need some sort of provider. I'm going to cheat and just do ethers provider. Just another important object that you should know. Provider, JSON RPC provider, since we have the string. And we're going to do a new ethers.providers.json RPC provider. And we're going to use the Alchemy endpoint, obviously. So we'll do Visual Studio Code, const Alchemy provider equals new ethers.providers dot JSON RPC provider. And then we'll plug in the string from the Alchemy girly interface, Visual Studio Code. And boom, there we go. I believe that's all we need. Counter, what was it? Alchemy provider, not counter. Alchemy provider. There we go. We'll need to do a main here, so it actually calls it. And then let's do console.log counter instance dot count. All right, fingers crossed. And then I'll end the demo. So we covered a bunch of front end stuff, and then we just quickly went, here's how to do a hard hat project and do a bunch of things, but it's all recorded. So, okay, I'll clear this and I'll do npx hardhat run scripts read contract.js -- network girly. That -- network is telling your project to go into your hardhat config. look into that networks flag and use the girly properties. Let's do it. I think, okay. So it's giving us back a promise. It's all good. It's not giving us an error, but we should await this. This is an async await pattern. Basically, the way JSON RPC typically responds to these requests, the JSON RPC interface in the Alchemy node that we're querying is it just gives us back a promise because this is an asynchronous request. So we'll just do await, and await says, no, don't give us back the promise, give us back the value. So wait for that value to return and then give us that. So obviously at this point we should get 0. There we go, because the count is 0. Maybe we can do something cooler like use that counter instance increase count, I believe it was, right? Increase count. And then we'll do that. And then we should get a 1. Ah, no, it's not liking that. Let's see. Requires a signer. Ah, not my bad. So I'll leave that as a challenge to you. How would you, we read, right? We successfully read using the counter instance ethers contract, object, but how do you write? And I'll leave that to you as a challenge. Anyway, we covered a bunch of stuff. We're on about time. I'll throw it back to StreamYard and see if we have any questions. I'll stop sharing screen. What's up?
Al, that was really good. Super impressed with how scrappy you were right there. And completely not my intention to be like, hey, go build a hard hat project. I was just thinking to hook into like Alchemy SDK or Ethers and like read from a contract. So I think you helped out everyone here so much more. So I appreciate you going through that. That was super cool.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was a great idea. I think just by the way, guys, like Ethers, I would normally use the Alchemy SDK, which uses Ethers. And the Alchemy SDK just superpowers you even more. But this is just a quick how to do it. Usually, if you want to build out a more sophisticated final project, you use a higher end tool or one that incorporates more stuff or gives you more power like the Alchemy SDK. But yeah, it says if our contract needed. So Amit asks, if our contract needed constructor arguments, how do we need to verify manually? So yeah, you guys saw in that interface, that Etherscan interface, what it asks you is, so say you deploy a contract that had one UN argument and it was 10. In that Etherscan interface, you would actually need to just plug in 10, right? That's the manual way. You can also do it programmatically. And if you want to do it programmatically, Google the hard hat Etherscan verify package, and that one lets you jumpstart. But also we cover it in AU week 5, how to verify a contract. So yeah, any final questions, guys? It says, can you connect this contract with front end? Yes, that is something maybe for the next workshop. Like ideally these workshops build out, right? Like build up and we do 1 hour at a time and stuff like that. But yeah, that was the main intention. So we deployed the kind of problem statement was we have a count in our local. How do we get it so that it's actually rigging up to a count on the Ethereum blockchain, or in this case, the girly Ethereum blockchain? So that is maybe a good challenge for some of you guys here. Hint, hint, it requires making that read call and passing it in to your front end. And so, what if we... Yeah, I wanted to do it, but it's actually not that bad. So I'll present super quick and just show you guys. We created a script here that says read contract, right? And it's pretty simple. All we did was create, use a couple variables. What you'll want to do is literally copy paste this, go back to your front end. And the cool thing about React is you can run JS here. Woo! So you can actually just copy paste it in here, right? Get the counter value from the blockchain, and since so someone had asked, are we still going to use that use state hook? Yes. So my bad if I said no, because you can actually get the value. Like we literally just plugged in what we had into our front end. That's it. It's scrappy. Obviously, we'd want to clean it up, and we do set count equals whatever. Like we can do const count in Gurley equals this. So we don't want to console log it. We actually want to store it. And now we can set the count to be the count in Gurley. That's how you would actually, and you don't want to do this async main function, or actually, yes, you do. You just want to call it something like get count from Gurley, right? Something more specific to what this does. And on click, you wouldn't just set the count anymore to be count equals +1. You would probably do on click get count from Gurley, right? And then you can do the count on Gurley is count. Oh no, it's just complaining. I anticipated it would do that. Yeah, so this is, I'll let you guys do the rest. This is all recorded, and maybe I'll get this repo up in GitHub, but it's just saying ethers is not defined. We can, I guess we can actually fix that real quick by just doing npm my ethers, right? Then it's going to complain about another thing. Let's see, reference error, ethers is not defined, ethers is not defined. But yeah, that's what you would do. I'll let you guys work through the challenge a little more of actually making this read call. So I believe this actually would be, this is the way. So yeah, stop sharing here. Cool. Thanks, guys. We're a little over time. So if you guys have any questions at all, if you guys are running through this demo, shout out to any future people running through this demo as well. Let me know. Tag me in Discord and let me know if you run into any issues, or I hope this actually helps you with a final project. Maybe your final project is you are setting up this really cool front-end interface that reads from the Ethereum mainnet. And what could that read be? It could be any information, right? NFTs, ERC20 token balances. I hope in those cases you use the Alchemy enhanced APIs, but it can be anything. So where do we reach out to ask any questions? The Discord. You can tag me, you can tag any of the ambassadors, and tag Cody, Dan, Vito, all of the AU team, and we're very happy to help. Cool, guys. That's where I'll end the broadcast. I'll see you in the Discord. Good luck with final projects. Let us know how you do. Thanks, everybody.